They say that when a child is born, a father is born too. But while the world provides endless resources, classes, and communities for mothers, men often find themselves standing on the sidelines wondering exactly where they fit into the equation. For many men, the transition into fatherhood feels like being sent to the front lines of a mission without a map, a mentor, or the right gear. We know the stakes are high. We know that an involved, present father changes the trajectory of a child's life from their emotional health to their future success. But how does a man move from just being there to truly leading, serving, and sacrificing for his family? Today, we're talking about a place designed specifically to answer that question. It's called the Outpost. We're exploring why every dad needs a base camp, a place where he can be equipped with parenting tools, supported through his own past traumas, and mentored by men who have walked the path before him. We're diving into the reality that fatherhood isn't a solo journey. It's a mission that requires a brotherhood. You're going to meet an Outpost leader in just a moment, so don't go anywhere. This program is made possible by financial support from Smile Online Course and Books. Smile Online offers online courses for teens and young adults designed to help them master social and career skills. Subject matter includes customer service skills, job interviewing, electronic etiquette, and managing stress. More information is available at thefatherhoodchallenge.com. That's thefatherhoodchallenge.com.
Welcome to the Fatherhood Challenge, a movement to awaken and inspire fathers everywhere to take great pride in their role and to challenge society to understand how important fathers are to the stability and culture of their family's environment. Now, here's your host, Jonathan Guerrero.
Greetings, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me and my co-host, Isaac.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Fatherhood Challenge.
This episode is called How the Outpost is Building Legacy Dads. Joining me via phone is a man leading this charge at the Foothills Care Center, Jamey Williams. Jamey, welcome to the Fatherhood Challenge.
Hey, guys. Jonathan, Isaac, good to be with you. Thank you.
Here's my favorite question. What's your favorite dad joke?
Well, it's not necessarily my favorite, but it's always the one that pops into my head when I'm put on the spot. So, what did one mushroom say about the other mushroom?
Huh.
He's a fun guy.
Did not see that coming at all.
Yeah, that's the only one I can ever think of.
And Isaac has his head back and he's shaking.
Yeah. That's to be expected. Yep.
Yeah, that's the reaction. You got a good reaction out of him. Good delivery.
Oh, thank you.
So the name Outpost suggests a station on the edge of a frontier. In the context of modern fatherhood, what is the wilderness young men are facing today? And why is this specific base camp necessary for them?
Well, I think a lot of times men feel like we're ostracized, we're villainized. We're actually part of the problem instead of an answer or solution to the problem of society in our homes. And that's exactly the opposite of our view at the Outpost. We want to build up young fathers, expecting fathers, and make them feel not only equipped for battle, but supported. That's our point of contact, is support. And then to equip them and then to empower them. And so we see ourselves as the Outpost and an extension, if you will, of the family and of the church at large, out in the community, boots on the ground.
What I find interesting about that, you just said the word church. So it sounds like the Outpost is working in cooperation with churches. Does that sound correct?
Very much so. Whether that be our male and female advocates, certainly our donorship, providing the funds and resources and materials that we need, whether it be a pastor coming in for a class or a group. We very much do find much of our support from churches in our community.
Let's get a little more personal here. What is your own personal story behind why and how you got involved with the Outpost?
Sure. Well, I grew up Christian, but there was a season of my life where I fell into rebellion. I was given into the temptations of lust. Out of that came a very brief and very toxic marriage. But we did get pregnant, and we unfortunately we lost that child to miscarriage. And going forward, I had several years where I was still very much active as far as ministry goes, as far as layman ministry. Um, and I've always been really big into apologetics, and I never questioned my faith or the Bible or anything like that. But I had a stronghold, I guess you'd say, in lust and bad relationships and relationships that are not according to God's design. And during that season of dating different people, I actually lost another child to miscarriage. And so in early 2023, I kind of was awoken, and I knew that I needed to come back to service. I needed to not be on the sideline. And my heart was in this kind of ministry because I had lost children to miscarriage. But like so many other people, especially men, I didn't think there would be any space for me in a pregnancy center. But I had some connections, so I asked, and sure enough, they were kind of mulling that over. Like, how can we reach these guys who are coming into our lobby and they're basically just sitting there waiting for their partner? So that's how I got started. And I was a male advocate for about 2 years. And then this past May, they hired me on as the Fatherhood program coordinator.
So, in the role that you're doing, there has to be some sort of a sense of purpose. And it sounds like, if I'm kind of reading between the lines of your story, what you were really hurting for is your identity and your purpose. And that's a huge part of what you've found in working with men at the Outpost.
Sure, a lot of what led to those behaviors, I didn't have a lot of good self-esteem. I didn't start dating till I was in my 30s, and I latched on to the first woman who showed me that affection and that attention, and it was through a dating app. And I'm not here to bash those. That can be like the internet itself. It can be useful, but it can also be a source of great temptation. And so that's how that relationship started. And so that self-esteem, that affirmation, codependency that was coming from these relationships that never lasted, that is where I was looking to be validated. And it was not until obviously I had consequences of that behavior that started to change my heart back to God and back to the model of marriage and right sexuality. But then my heart and my mind could turn to service and fulfilling a man's calling to serve and to lead and to be a good example that I was not being at that time.
I do have one question.
Okay.
When you had those two babies that you lost,
Yes, sir.
were you actually married at the time when you had them?
The first one I was married to my first wife, and it was later on in our time together, and that kind of was the end of that relationship, unfortunately. Like I said, it was a toxic one that never should have started. I should have had more discernment than that. But I was looking for that validation. I needed to feel like a man. And so I latched onto that. And unfortunately, yes, we did lose my first child that way.
I wanted to ask about your relationship with your father. How did that impact, or did that impact any of the decisions that you made through your life?
He's always been a hard worker. He always taught good life lessons that a man should know as far as efficiency, hard work, providing for your family, those kind of things. But he was real young. They both were real young when I was the first of three boys, and he was harsher when he was younger. My parents divorced when I was very young, and so my first about 5 years of my life, he was kind of in and out. He was moving a lot, working. And when I was 5, I was actually in their second marriage, and they stayed together at that time forward. But he was very much a disciplinarian. he had to kind of warm up and learn how to be engaged and interactive as a father. So I think a lot of that kind of made an impact on me. But thankfully, he has grown a lot, and he has, especially becoming a granddad, that has mellowed him out a lot. He's serving the Lord.
It always
Uh,
does. I've seen it
yes,
over and over
yes.
again.
It's like you were not that nice to me, but I think we all tell our dads that.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, he's definitely a man's man. He came from a family of hardworking men's men, and I personally do not fit that mold exactly the way that they do, which is fine. We all have our talents. We all have our proclivities, and the Lord is using me in a different way, and my skills and my talents are in different areas, and that's perfectly fine. But yeah, I think that's a little bit of that standoffishness contributed a little bit to my need for affirmation, I guess, and my self-esteem. But like I've said, I can only say great things about him now since he's grown himself in the last couple of decades.
My father, in my case, was missing in a majority of my life, but so was his father.
Sure.
So he didn't really have a good picture of a father to be able to rely on and say, this is what a father is. A father stays because my dad stays. So this must be what it means. So he really struggled with that. I think your dad is a hero.
Sure.
I don't even know him nearly as well, just from what you've said. I know firsthand how difficult it is to break generational cycles, and your dad was very intentional about breaking that generational cycle for you. And you're a hero. You've made tremendous efforts to try to break the generational cycles on your part. And from what I heard, I could be wrong on this, but it often takes 3 generations to break generational cycles and patterns. So I have so much respect for you for all the hard work you've done to do that.
I appreciate that. Every man has his own journey, and it's only by God's grace that we can make any progress. We can do any work on ourselves, and then, of course, turn around and affect other people.
Pregnancy and care centers are often perceived as female-centric spaces. How have you intentionally designed the Outpost to make a man feel important and welcomed the moment he walks in through the door?
Sure. Well, first thing I wanted to avoid was being too much of a cliche. I do love the imagery and the symbolism of the Outpost and the coloring and kind of the nod towards the military, but it very much is not presented in a cheesy or you know funny way. We do have a space, and I'm very proud of the fact that the ladies in our leadership inside the center, the groundwork was kind of already laid for me. It was a neutral space, neutral colors. It was very much clean, clinical looking, almost like a doctor's office. And so when a guy walks into the building, he doesn't have to look at flowers and pink colors and stuff like that. But then in addition to that, I was given my own space when I was hired. I have a room that is decked out with decorations for men to make them feel comfortable, maybe a space that they would want to be in at home. And the big thing that we've seen that has caused growth in our center is a guy meeting him out in the lobby or wherever that may be. It's me, it's my face, it's my handshake going out to him as another man and speaking truth, not only truth into him, but support and love, and saying, it's a great sign that you're here. I am so thankful that you're here. I want to affirm and be grateful for that, because you were at least taking that first step in responsibility in supporting your partner. And I'll meet him wherever he is. He may be scared and have no idea what he's going to do, He may be on the fence about life or death, or if he can afford to be a dad. You never know. There's all kinds of situations. Or he may be bought in and he's ready to go. And he's maybe just needs that support. He just needs that help and that equipping. And so that is the three-pronged approach. That is our mission, is to support, equip, and empower. And wherever he is, we meet him there. And that can look different. Uh, Maybe he's been a dad before and he doesn't really need the education. Maybe he needs more of the mentoring or trauma recovery. We have curriculum and books and videos that address all those kind of issues. So I like to adapt to each man for whatever he may need.
The Outpost offers trauma recovery support. How often is a man's struggle with being a dad actually a struggle with how he was fathered? And how do you help dads break those cycles?
Many times abuse in many different forms, whether it be absence. Andrew Wood puts it as there's three kinds of dads, and we all are all three of these at different points. But overall, how are your children going to look at you? A hero, a ghost, or a villain? They may not know how to start that journey, and they're kind of standoffish, and we hope that we can encourage him to participate because we know that he is so essential. Maybe that's not acknowledged, but he, even in choosing life, he's a major factor in her choice. We know that children are the effects that happen because of his involvement or without his involvement, whether good or bad. Those are highly affected by his involvement. So we just want to walk alongside him and encourage him and give him the tools he needs.
Your website mentions father facts, like how involved dads reduce poverty and substance abuse. Beyond the stats, what is the most profound internal change you see in a man when he finally realizes his presence is actually a superpower?
Well, I can tell you, a lot of times they come in there and they're shocked. They're in a state of panic. So we want to freeze that moment and say, I know you feel this way right now. What we want to try to do is support you right now and help you see into the future more than just today. We do have those stats as far as what those numbers look like as far as his involvement, but his eyes lighting up, I guess, when he comes in here and in there and he's downtrodden, he's panicked. We want to stop him and give him time to breathe and support him. And the times that I've seen that shell kind of crack and see that man melt, and he may have tattoos on his neck and he just looks real rough, real hardened. But then that shell cracks and you tell him that he's important and that he is vital to his, not only his child, but his partner, if he's currently with the partner. Their well-being is so affected by him, and that he has a voice, like he has a say-so, like it matters what he thinks, what he says. It's not just a sideline issue for him to sit down and shut up. And so you see his eyes light up and you see his countenance change. And I think that is the start of that road that we can hopefully help him walk down and to become the leader, become the man that we know God has designed us to be.
All right, Jamey, it's time to brag on behalf of the Outpost. Would you please share some success stories? And the names can be changed to protect the innocent.
Sure. Well, thankfully, I was able to lead one young man to the Lord early on. We are an openly faith-based organization, and in our intake, I make sure that he understands the gospel. And I say, if that's something you have questions about, if you want to circle back to, we can do that. We can certainly do Bible studies if that's the road you want to go down. I'm definitely open to that. And so after a few sessions, he did in fact give his heart to the Lord, and that was one of the best moments for me personally. But even just seeing guys who come halfway across the world, they're here for, one guy was here for his education, higher education, and he just needed to feel adequate. He needed to feel equipped and ready for that first child. And so to sit with him and to, whether it be practice on a model, swaddling or changing diapers, or just receiving that information that he needs, like what do I need to expect? And just seeing him light up and feel confident, that was, and that's many times that's the story for a lot of guys I see. It's just that courage be bolstered, and that confidence in what they are doing. Um, and we also know that seeing that ultrasound, if he's able to do that, if he's with a partner and she gives his permission, seeing that ultrasound we know is so vital for both, especially the woman, but even the man, in understanding you are a father right now. And so a lot of times you can see that difference after they go in that room, and then they're more ready to, okay, what do I do now? And that's where we can kind of step in and continue that journey and say, well, we may not have all the answers, we may not have all the services here. We have affiliates in the community who can help you with different needs, but we definitely can walk beside you and mentor you, educate you, give you material needs. And on a day-to-day, week-by-week basis, that is really what I see. It's kind of a slow grind. Um, you hear stories, more dramatic stories, I guess, from women who come in and then they have a change of heart and they decide to keep the baby. And a lot of times we'll have a woman or even a couple, thankfully, come in later, months later, with their baby, and they had been abortion minded, and they would go through our program, have the baby, come back, and we see that fruit firsthand. So that is one of the biggest blessings and kind of that encouragement for us, is to see these dads, next time I see you, you're going to have a baby in your arms. And that is rewarding in itself. We know that eye color, that gender, height, temperament, that is all determined at conception. Brand new DNA is formed right then and there. And so we believe that is a person from the beginning, and that's a person that needs to be supported, and thus his or her parents need to be supported. We want to build a community of support. And that's what church is. That's what the church is a community to walk together and help each other to grow and develop. And so that's what we're trying to foster inside of our local community, is a culture of life, not a culture of death. We see that everywhere we turn, whether a screen or in the conversation. We're trying to change that tide. We're trying to change that mindset about fathers, about men. Men are still needed. Fathers are still crucial. And so we want to bolster both mom and dad, and in turn give them the tools that they can invest in their children, raise their children up in a godly way, so that hopefully when they grow older, they will not turn from it. So that all starts from what you're saying, that viewpoint that God has put that life in that womb, and He has a plan for that life, and that life needs to be nourished, and that's what we're trying to do, help mom and dad so that they can nourish and grow that life to its full potential.
If a dad is listening right now and feels like he's failing, he's exhausted, he's broke, he's overwhelmed, what is the very first step he can take today to move him from survival mode to mission mode?
Get plugged in, whether it be a source like ours, a resource like ours, or maybe his local church. Get plugged in. Find somebody to be that Paul to him. I believe as men, we all need a Paul, a Barnabas, and a Timothy. And so that's something I'm very willing to do as the head of this program and our male advocates inside this program, is to get somebody to walk along with you, share their experience, share where they have been. And a lot of times you'll find that people who have heart for this ministry are like me. They've walked through that valley. They've been there, and they can say, okay, I know exactly what you're feeling. This is what I did. It did or did not work. I learned from it. Let me help you, not give you all the answers or preach, because we need ears more than we need lips. So let me just walk with you as you go through this parenting journey. We can help you with those resources.
How can dads connect with you for questions?
They can either go to our website, which is foothillscarecenter.org, and there's a tab on top called Men's Services, or if you want to directly go to that page, you can go to foothillscarecenter.com/the Outpost. And we're also found on Facebook as well as Instagram. On Instagram, it's the Outpost at FCC, and that's a good way to get started, and just make that connection. And you can either come in, see what it's all about. You can come in for your first intake. You can even just call the office and say, hey, give me a rundown of what this looks like. And then we can go from there and we can get started.
Jamey, as we close, would you be willing to say a prayer for dads right out there, especially new dads that are just on the fence about what to do, where they are? Maybe they're scared, and they just need to feel God's presence and know, first of all, that God is personally with them and knows exactly what they feel and cares about them.
Absolutely, we'll do. Abba, Father, I just pray discernment for any father out there who's listening, who's struggling this morning. We know that every day people are out there finding out that they are going to be a parent, and they are not prepared. They are overwhelmed. They're broke. Whatever that situation is, we know that they are in need. And I just pray that you'll send them the right resources, the right names, and the right places, the right Bible passages, the right pastors and friends, whoever it may be. I pray that you'll put those people in their way and those resources on their path. They'll help them go in the right direction, that they'll feel empowered. They'll feel encouraged and supported wherever they are, whether they're in the slum of a bad string of decisions, or they're in a right relationship, but they're just not ready. They're scared, because we know there's so many people who are panicking when they find out they're a parent, especially when it's an unplanned pregnancy. And we just pray that you'll guide them and help them to become the men that you designed them to be, and to know that it is your power that gives them the strength to do that, and that you'll have your will done, even just today. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Jamey, thank you so much for spending time with us today. We both really appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Fatherhood Challenge. If you would like to contact us, listen to other episodes, find any resource mentioned in this program, or find out more information about the Fatherhood Challenge, please visit thefatherhoodchallenge.com. That's thefatherhoodchallenge.com.